Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Small Business Briefing, where we interview different people in small to medium-sized businesses, ask them about their businesses, and sometimes actually answer some questions for them, and sometimes they answer some really good questions for us. So this will get all slick and polished and look really good really soon. But for today, our very first conversation happens with Mike over at 360 Legal. Now, the reason this came about is I had lunch with an attorney client of ours, and the attorney client of mine said, you know what, we've got to serve papers on this person who is a known avoider, and it's getting really arduous, and we can't proceed in court without having served him. And he was just generally not looking for help, but expressing his frustration. And so I took that bit of information away, not knowing what a known avoider was, but knowing exactly who to ask. So, Mike, thanks. You're going to answer that question for me, and I won't feel silly anymore. Known avoider. What is a known avoider when you're trying to do a process server, a serve process? And what can you do about it? Looking forward to hearing your answer.
Yeah, a known avoider, it's a very common question that we get. We deal a lot with collection attorneys and people that are working foreclosure cases for the banks and servicers. And so as you can imagine, it's financial, so you have a lot of people that are trying to run from a lawsuit or just think that if they don't get served that the lawsuit is going to go away. That's the furthest thing from accurate, furthest thing from the truth. It really only makes it worse for the folks that we're trying to serve because they actually end up going in front of the judge. As you can imagine, the judge probably doesn't take very kindly to them avoiding their responsibilities. So we get asked this question a lot. In fact, I have one up in Tampa that we're doing today. I had an attorney call me, and he said, I have this person, I'm trying to domesticate a judgment, and I need to get him served. And unfortunately, he's a known avoider. The sheriff has tried to get him, and they can't get him. And so I had some discussions with him, and I basically offered him the service that we've kind of perfected over the past 4 or 5 years, and it's called, it's our surveillance package. And basically what we do is, I have this known avoider I have to serve. We actually go and we do a complete background investigation on them. We get a picture of the individual. We find out where they work. We find out basically everything about them. And then I have one of my private investigators actually sit on the address that we come back with, which, to be honest with you, fairly often is different than where the attorney is trying to serve them to begin with. And so what they do is they break that up into like 30-minute increments over, the 3-hour time frame. And, if necessary, we'll go to their place of employment and get them. We'll basically do whatever's necessary to effectuate service on their defendant. And we're very successful. Our PIs have been in this business for about 20 years, and so they have access to some databases and things like that are, just your everyday person doesn't have access to. So we're very successful. It's a very good service, and we usually get the people that we go after.
Could I ask you a question on that, Mike?
Is
it typical that your garden variety process server would offer PI services, or is this something that's a little bit special to 360 Legal?
I've seen where other people offer what they would call private investigative service, but this actually is something that we created on our own after talking with some of the attorneys 4 or 5 years ago. They just couldn't really, the sheriff will only go like 4 or 5 times before they just give up. And believe it or not, you would think if somebody knocks on your door with a badge and a gun, you might open the door. But people just don't. They see on TV and in the news that the best thing to do is don't let them serve you, and so they just go in their house and hide. And so what we've done is come up with this basic package, and it's very successful. I don't really know any other process server firm that will actually do this sort of thing. I mean, some of them offer surveillance. But I think that the gap that we fill is we'll actually go and do the complete background investigation for them. And some of my servers are women and different. So we screen the defendant to make sure he's not in the sexual offender database or something like that. I would hate to send out a female and put her in that situation. We also screen to make sure that there are no felonies in their background, like domestic violence or things like that, to make sure that the server knows what he's walking into. Because, obviously, a process server is not the sheriff. So while we're certified by the court, we're not law enforcement. So it just helps to give the server a little background. It also makes us more successful because we know a lot more about the person, where they work and so forth and so on. And it allows us to be more successful, I think.
Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me. And we appreciate the information that you have given us. As always, down below, subscribe to the channel, like us, ask me a question. If we get a question, we're going to answer it, okay? And that's the end for today's Small Business Briefing. Y'all have a great week. Thank you.